This is a short video on how to take your pretest exam. You'll note in your class syllabus that one of the initial requirements in the first week of our class, which is the week beginning January the 17th, one of the first requirements is to take what we call a pretest. So in order to do that, what you'll do is you'll sign on to the Cabrini Learn website, and from the website you'll click on the course tab of Cabrini Learn, and when you do that, all the courses for which you have been registered or for which you are registered will appear on this landing page. Now in this case we see the spring semester academic year 16 and 17, and these are the courses that I'm listed that I'm part of the class. I'm listed as the instructor for these classes. So what you would want to do is pick the MACC 540 course. That's a course that we're talking about. So we'd click on that, and that click then will take us into our classroom. Now, before we go on, what I'm going to do is switch the classroom to a student view so you get a little bit more realistic view of what you would see as a student. Now, right now, we're not going to take a tour of the classroom other than to take a look where we would locate our pretest exam. And that's under the exams tab. It's pretest exam. So if I'm going to take my pretest, I'm going to click on that. So let's go ahead and click on that. And you can see MACC 540 pretest. Now, it probably will help to understand a little bit more about the exam. So I'll read the introduction. Okay. This is a 30-question multiple choice exam, and this exam simulates the types of multiple choice questions that it could appear in any portion of the audit section of the CPA exam. And the reason we do this pretest, it provides not only you but also me of a general assessment of your baseline knowledge of the areas that you may encounter in the audit portion of the CPA exam. This being the baseline, what we're going to do is compare it to additional exams we take during the semester, and I think you're going to see, and I think most everybody right now who've taken previous courses under this methodology, they start out at a certain level and they continually improve throughout the semester. So you can also see your progression in terms of your knowledge of the section of the exam. Now, you're not going to be evaluated, in effect graded, on your performance on the exam. In other words, we're not worried about correct versus incorrect answers, okay? But you will be graded on the fact that you actually took the exam and you took it before its due date of 11:59 p.m. January 22nd. If you do that, you're going to earn 50 grading points out of 50 grading points. If you take it after that date, you're going to end up with 40 grading points out of 50 grading points. So you don't want to do that. You want to get your full points because this is, quite frankly, a very easy way to maximize your grade. Now, we do measure your performance within the exam, but we don't grade you on it. Again, we measure your performance in taking the exam so we can measure it against other times you take the exam. So each exam question, in effect, if we have 30 questions and 100, and if we take a look at that by percentage, each question is worth 3.3%, if you will, or we'll call it 3.3 points. So if you answer 30 questions right, you get 99.9% or 99.9 points of the exam. Okay, the exam's time for 120 minutes, 2 hours, and you must complete the exam once it's started. Okay, another thing is that you can save your answers and leave the exam for any point in time, but the important thing to remember is that that 2-hour clock, once it's started, does not stop. So if you answer some questions and leave the exam for the majority of the time, within those 2 hours, the only remaining time is going to be what's left after you've started the exam again. So the exam will display a total score and the number of points you earned per correctly answered question. Okay, when you complete the exam, the answers to the questions then will be displayed after the due date, which is on January 22nd. Okay, remember again that you're still going to receive the full points, which are the 50 points, as long as you complete the exam before its due date. So that's an important thing to remember. So in order to take the exam, you go up to the MACC 540 pretest and you click on the link. Now you're going to be taken to the instructions for the pretest. And again, it's good to note this is a time test. It has a time limit of 2 hours. Your remaining time in this case is approximately 1 hour, 51 minutes, and 49 seconds because I had used this exam for some other examples. So you notice I did sign out, and for whatever reason, I've used up approximately 8 to 9 minutes of that original exam time. Okay, test setting. The test will save and submit automatically when the time expires. So if you haven't completed the exam when the time expires, the system will automatically submit the exam for you. In terms of forced completion, the test can be saved and resumed at any point in time until the time's expired, those 2 hours. Again, remember the timer will continue to run if you leave the test. The due date of the exam is January 22nd by 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So now if you want to start with the exam, you can go ahead and click Continue. So I'm going to click Continue. And the first thing you're going to see is the first exam question. Well, in this case, I'm showing you exam question number 3 because I've used this exam before, and it's going to ask you one single question. You'll answer that question. Then you'll click on where it says question, in this case 3 out of 30. You would click on that single right arrow to get to the next question, and it takes you to the next question. So you have to bring up every question that you're going to answer. So it doesn't bring up all 30 questions, it brings up one question at a time. Now let's assume that we're going to go to the end here, so I'm going to push on the double arrow, which will take me to the last question. You notice if I want to, I can go ahead and save these answers every time I answer the question. I can go ahead and do that if I want, and I would recommend you do that just so you don't lose your answers. So now at the end of the exam, what will happen is it'll look slightly different. Here's your last question regarding question number 30. And in this case, with question 30 out of 30, again, you can save the answer, but also now you have the option of saving and submitting the exam for grading. So once you do that, you save and submit. And I'm going to do that right now, and I'm going to get some error messages just because it says, well, wait a minute, the following questions may be incomplete. And it says click cancel to return to the test, but in this case I'm just going to say OK. So in this case, when I click OK, it'll give me the information of the student Paul Cowley, the time the test was started, time used, and so forth. Now if I want to review my results, I click the OK here, and I'm going to then go ahead and take a look at the results that I received for each of the questions. In this case, I got, for question number 1, 2, 3, 4, I got 0 points out of 3.33 because I didn't answer any of these questions. So in effect, as far as the system is concerned, I answered all of these questions incorrectly. So you can see your results there. At the bottom portion of this page, you can also view the total results of your attempts, and in this particular case you can see the due date of the exam, the points that were possible on the exam, and the date that I created the exam, December the 28th at 12:54 p.m. and the date I last submitted the exam, December 28th, 12:54 p.m. and my calculated grade in total was 0. And again, I can go back and take a look at the individual results if I want to look back at them. And again, there's my verification page. So now I click OK, and OK then takes me back to, in this case, it says begin MACC 540 pretest, but I've already completed the pretest, so I can just go ahead and go back to my my main classroom pages. So that's the end of this very, very brief demo. Thank you for your time.